All signs point to this as multiple NFL key insiders have revealed what the New York Jets draft plans look like, as two of the best in the business mentioned multiple different players in each round that the New York Jets could be picking, and this will have a huge implication on the team going forwards, looking at who they're selecting and if these could be the choices that help the New York Jets get back to the playoffs. And we're going to break all of this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And if you guys are part of that 70% that's not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to Jets Digest. It really helps the channel out a ton. We're on that grind. Thank you so much for 5K. Now on to 10K. Also, Matt's not here because, well, he's celebrating birthdays, because good for Matt. He deserves the break. So you're stuck with me. Let's jump into the video, guys. Darren Mougey is about to do his first ever NFL draft as a GM. He's never been a general manager before, but he has been in draft rooms before, obviously, considering he's gotten a GM job. But it's not just that. He has been a key member of draft rooms in the past, as he, Darren Mougey, did do an excellent job with the Denver Broncos just last year as part of the team that picked Bo Nix. Mougey was big on Bo Nix as well, so it does show that the man does know what he's doing. Darren Mougey's a very, very smart guy in regards to the draft, or at least has proved so far. I mean, when there was a massive whole staff overturn with the Denver Broncos, Mougey was the one guy that stuck around, trusted by Sean Payton, trusted by the new regime in Denver, and now has his chance to make things his own way with the New York Jets. The young GM is ready to prove everyone wrong, and now there's been multiple reports on who the New York Jets could pick in the first round. The most common guy is Armand Membou. He's been talked about the most, but also when you look at guys like the Tyler Warrens of the world, and there's been Ashton Genty talk. There's been talk about multiple different quarterbacks, most recently Shuck, but there's been a few other names. We saw the whole Jackson Dart situation. Now there's Jalen Milroe rumors. There's a bunch of rumors and talk about where the New York Jets could go with that 7th overall pick. And also on top of that, there's subsequent picks in the 2nd, 3rd, and rounds, so on and so forth after that. But looking at the top 3, there was recently a breakdown of this with some of the best in the business, key NFL draft insiders in Mel Kiper and Field Yates. And they predicted that 7th overall, the New York Jets would take Armand Membou. Now, Membou, again, he's the consensus guy for the New York Jets. Most are expecting the New York Jets to go with Armand Membou with that first round draft pick. He is someone who would absolutely fit with the Jets well. The Jets need another tackle since they lost both of their starting tackles last year that they started the season with. One of them went to the Patriots and Morgan Moses. Meanwhile, the other one, Tyron Smith, retired from football after the Jets were the only team who even wanted him. Given they have Olu Fashanu now, who's been absolutely phenomenal for the New York Jets, and Fashanu is someone who's going to be the starting left tackle for the foreseeable future for the New York Jets. However, that right tackle spot is a big question mark right now. They don't have anyone starter level right there. Armand Membou solves that problem in spades. The number 1 tackle on the NFL draft board is Will Campbell is going to move to guard. So Armand Membou is the guy. He's been linked to the Jets for a very long time. At this point, most Jets fans, I would imagine, would be pretty surprised if Armand Membou is not the Jets' first round draft selection. And now this was explained by Field Yates, who took this pick in his mock draft, saying the Jets must provide new quarterback Justin Fields with adequate time to throw. He has proved effective in the past when he is a clean pocket. Membou's tenacity and pass protection acumen make him a hand-in-glove fit in New York. He has started in 30 games over his career and just allowed 1 sack last season. So we've talked about Armand Membou a ton, so not to stand him forever, but I would love this pick. I've openly talked about how I would love this pick. I've openly talked about how if the Jets stay at 7, something I don't want them to do, I do want them to move back in the draft. But if you're going to stay at 7, you draft Armand Membou. You're not fully supposed to draft for team fit. You should also draft for what matters most for you, and effectively skill. Skill is what's going to matter. You do draft for talent. That's the way to go most of the time. The Jets do both things here. They take the number 1 offensive tackle, and at the same time, they draft for fit. It's a home run pick for the New York Jets, imagining Membou does work out to what he is expected to be. Wild potential. Would be the right tackle for the next 10 years for the New York Jets, solidifying your tackles literally for the next decade into the mid-2030s for the Jets. And then you could worry about the rest of your offensive line, which is already stacked up. John Simpson's 27. Elijah Vera Tucker's still young. Joe Tippmann's young and only getting better. The Jets have a lot to like about their offensive line. They will have to eventually pay Simpson and AVT. They'll pay AVT for sure. Simpson, bit more of a question. Depends on this season for sure. but becomes very interesting there to see what the Jets will do. Meanwhile, this was a 3-round mock, so get ready. We're not done. Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami, was selected by Mel Kiper in that 2nd round. The explanation for this pick was that Kiper said, I had this 2nd round match in my mock draft last week too. Arroyo could use his size and speed to get open for Justin Fields. He caught 7 touchdown passes last year in a true breakout year. Arroyo, a very, very talented player as well. Played 4 years at Miami. And look, in his freshman year, he got some games in. The next 2 years, not as much. But his real game that he really started to play in, or his real season that he really started to play in, was his senior year, where he broke out onto the scenes, having 590 receiving yards for 35 receptions, which is 17 yards per reception, similar to what he did in his first freshman season as well. On top of that, you look at yards per game at 45.4, so great numbers there. 7 of his 8 college touchdowns were last season. He broke out onto the seams. Arroyo proved himself to be one of the higher-up tight ends in a class that Darren Mougey has classified himself as a deep tight end class. So this is a position that the Jets have been looking at deeper into the draft, So it will be interesting to see how the New York Jets fare with a guy in Elijah Arroyo who would fit this team well. Right now, the Jets only have Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart as their tight ends. You need to add another one. You also do have Zach Kuntz there, but you do need another tight end. Arroyo's an athletic guy, fits that vertical threat tight end the New York Jets are looking for, gives them another receiving option that they could desperately use, while also using Ruckert as that tight end too, with the connection to Justin Fields. Makes things pretty nice. I honestly like this pick as well. I think it's a good selection. I think it makes sense for the Jets. They do need a tight end. They attack that early in the draft, and you could potentially have solved your tight end problem for many, many, many years to come. On top of that, the final selection that they made was, well, time to make a pronunciation, as the Jets would be selecting Princely Omanmielen, an edge rusher out of Ole Miss, played 3 years before that at a different school, as Omanmielen was a very, very solid player for Florida for 4 years before transferring over to one final year at Ole Miss, where he got 19 solo tackles, 18 assisted, combined 37 2 years prior, 39, looked very solid, got 10.5 sacks, would give the Jets more of an edge rusher or edge rushing help when you have guys like Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. Johnson is coming off that ruptured Achilles. Meanwhile, Will McDonald broke out last season. If the Jets don't believe in Johnson, or if they just want to use another edge rusher, this would be a great fit as well. It's an interesting selection. I definitely could see the Jets attacking that edge rusher spot. It makes sense for them. It is something that you still do need to bolster. Where the Jets' defensive line stands right now, it's not perfect, and there is a world where you could move one of your edge rushers to the defensive tackle spot. Would it be as effective? Probably not. You'd probably go with Jermaine Johnson, but you could go either of them at the defensive tackle spot next to Quinnen Williams. It would make some sense there. Obviously, this pick would give the Jets a lot more pass rushing, which would help because they didn't have any of that last year outside of Will McDonald. So this would be huge for the Jets. Very interesting pick. And, well, just to take a look at Field Yates' reasoning, he mentioned that the Jets could consider a pass rusher earlier than this, but this is good value for Omanmielen. He had 10.5 sacks and 48 pressures last season in Ole Miss. Almost said Miami. First almost said the Jets, but at Ole Miss. So another interesting prospect. Look, where the Jets would be at right now, Omanmielen would be an interesting selection for the team because it's not necessarily their highest need, but they could use more pass rushing for sure. It's definitely something they could look at. I would like to see him add some more pass rushing to this team. I'm surprised they didn't address it more in free agency. I guess they didn't really want to pay that much money, though, which would make some sense. It is one of those positions, though, with all the young, unproven guys they took in free agency, it's kind of surprising they didn't go for a young pass rusher as well. Very interesting to see, but where the New York Jets stand right now, this could very likely be their top 3 selections. I definitely think Membou is the correct one right there. And more importantly, I do think we could see Arroyo also get selected. I think those two are very likely picks for the New York Jets and for Darren Mougey. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.